This video is for theme modeling and simulation, unit manipulation. And in this video I'm going to show you how to combine two images using a piece of software called Pixlr.com. Once I've showed you how to combine those images, I'm then going to show you a few features of the software, and then I'm going to show you how to save your images so that you can access them later on. So to start with, if you open up a new tab in your web browser and go to www.pixlr, which is Pixlr.com. That should take you to this web page, and here you'll see that you've got two options to choose from. You can either open Photo Editor or you can open the Retro Vintage Effects. In this unit we're going to be using the Photo Editor, so click on that button. That'll take you to the Pixlr editor, and from here you can choose from four options. You can either create a new image, open an image from your computer, open an image from a URL, which is a website, or open an image from the library if you've subscribed to Pixlr. Now we're actually going to use this option here, open image from URL. But before we do, I want to demonstrate to you why we would use this software over something called Paint. So just for the purpose of this example, I'm going to create a new image. Okay, but we don't need to do that, you don't need to follow that, because later on we'll be doing this. However, like I said, I'm just going to show you why we'd use this instead of Paint. So I'm going to create a new image. I'm just going to give my image a name called Test. I can choose what size I want my image, which is like choosing the size of paper that you want to draw on, so A4, A3, etc. And I'm just going to click this transparent box. I'll explain that in a minute. Press OK, and you'll see that it opens up in Pixlr with a canvas. This is called our canvas, and these palettes here, which have got lots of options on. And it's actually this layers palette that I'm going to focus on later on when I compare it against Paint. These grey and white boxes that you can see here just show that the canvas is transparent, so there's nothing on it yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in Paint, and I'm going to demonstrate to you why we wouldn't use this, or not that we wouldn't use it, but why we would use Pixlr over Paint. So imagine that Paint is like a piece of paper, and on a piece of paper, whenever you draw something on that piece of paper, it's all on one layer. It all goes on that piece of paper unless you're using tracing paper. Okay, and Paint is a bit like that. So if I draw a shape in Paint, let's say I want to draw a red rectangle, and I want to fill that red rectangle, and then I want to draw a yellow circle, but I don't want any fill on my circle, so I'm just going to draw a yellow circle like that. Now imagine that I've just drawn those two shapes on a piece of paper as well with some crayons. Imagine that I wanted to rub out that yellow circle. So if I had a piece of paper, I'd actually go and get a rubber and I'd try and rub out the yellow circle, which is just like you do in Paint. I get my rubber, I put my rubber onto the screen, and very carefully I try and rub out the yellow circle. But you can see that what's happening is, and this is exactly what would happen with a piece of paper, is that when I rub out the yellow circle, I'm also rubbing out the red square, because they're both on the same layer on a piece of paper. Same goes for example, let's say if I'm using Paint and I want to move that yellow circle. I can't actually do that on a piece of paper unless I get some scissors and I cut it out. And the same goes for Paint. If I select this circle, with the selection tool, like that, and I try and move it, I actually cut away and take away the red rectangle as well. So although Paint can be quite good with its simplicity and using of the tools, it's actually quite limited with regards to what we want to do with our image. So if I compare that to something like Pixlr, so I'm going to do the exact same thing again. What I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a shape, I'm going to draw a rectangle, I want to choose the colour of my rectangle, so I'm just going to, in fact I'll just draw the rectangle to start with, like that, and then what I might do is again use the fill tool, change the colour, fill it in, and then let's say for example that I want to draw a circle. So again I go back and select my circle shape like this. I'm going to take off the fill like that and choose a yellow colour. See if this works. Yep, okay. But what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to undo that just for the purpose of this example. And what I'm going to do is, unlike Paint, where I'm actually going to draw all on one piece of paper, I'm actually going to use this layers palette here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new layer, like that. And that's almost like putting a piece of tracing paper on top of your paper. So what I can do now is I can draw my yellow circle again. I'm just going to see if this border size changes the thickness of my circle. I'm going to draw my circle again. Yep, that works. And just like before in Paint, I've got a yellow circle over a red square. Now, let me show you this example again, where if I want to rub out this time, but remember I've created these layers, if I want to rub out this time and I just want to rub the yellow circle out, you'll notice that I can. I can just rub the yellow circle out. Why? Because I drew that yellow circle on a different layer. So it was like drawing it on a piece of tracing paper. If I just undo that. Same goes for if I want to move it. If I use this tool here called the Move tool, as long as this layer where I drew the circle is selected, I will only move that yellow circle. Now I drew the red square on this layer. So if I click on this layer and move the red square, I only move the red square. And it's obviously got some very nice features. So for example, I could add another layer. I can add as many layers as I want. And on this layer, what I might do is do a green squiggle. So here's my paintbrush, and I can do a green squiggle. And because I drew that green squiggle on a different layer, if I want to move that green squiggle using the Move tool, I only move the green squiggle. Again, if I want to move the yellow circle, I click on layer 1, because I know that's the yellow circle, and I'll only move the yellow circle. I can then delete some of these layers if I want. So if I click on layer 2 and I don't want the green squiggles, I can click on layer 2, and click on the trash can, and I'll delete that layer. I can set the visibility of some of these layers to on or off, so at the minute they're both on so I can see them. So maybe I want to keep the yellow circle, but at the minute I don't want to see it. So I can untick this box, and I can no longer see it, but I can bring it back. So I haven't deleted it, I've just said I don't want to see it for the time being. And that's going to be really useful when we're manipulating these images. Because what we're going to do is we're going to sit the UFO spaceship on top of this scenery here. We might want to move it around. So if we have the spaceship on one layer and the scenic background on another, we can treat them as different objects. And that's exactly what Pixlr allows us to do, whereas Paint doesn't. So yeah, there's a reason why we're using the software. So I'm just going to close this down. Do I want to save it? No, I don't, because I was only doing it for an example. And you can see that I'm presented with this menu again, and like I said, we're actually going to use this option here to start our work. Open image from URL. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to open this image in Pixlr. To do that, what I need to do is I need to go and get the URL. This is the URL. It's the address of that picture on the World Wide Web. I need to get this URL, right click and copy, go back to Pixlr, and then I'm going to click on Open Image from URL. Click on that, and it'll say, right, what is the URL of the image? So I can delete all of this, right click and paste what I've just copied. So I've literally just pasted this address here into this box. Yep, and then I press OK. Now, depending on how big that image is, how big the dimensions are, how big the size is, it might take longer to actually load. It'll also depend on how quick your internet speed is. So you can see it didn't take very long to load mine. And now you can see that this picture is now in Pixlr. And it looks a bit smaller, and the reason for that is because I'm actually zoomed out to this image by 34%. So I'm only seeing the image at 34% its full size. So if I wanted to see 100%, this is the image in the exact same size that you're seeing it here. Okay, and I can scroll up, down, etc. But I'm just going to change this back to 33 so that I can see it all on my screen. The next thing I need to do is I need to then get the spaceship into here. Into here. So again, I'm going to do the same thing again. We can copy and paste images from here and put them in Pixlr, but in my experience, it actually crashes the Pixlr software. So if you follow my instructions, it will hopefully ease that and it won't crash. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to go to File, open image URL. So I'm going to do the same thing again. Open image URL. And this time I'm going to go and get my spaceship's address. So I'm going to select all of this, right click, copy, go back into here, delete this bit out, and right click, paste. Press OK. And now you can see I've got two windows open. I've got my scenic background here, and I've got my spaceship here. Now with this spaceship, I can simply just copy and paste all of this across now from here to here. Because copying and pasting once the pictures are in Pixlr is much easier and it doesn't crash the website. But before I do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and remove this black background from the picture. Okay, so to do that, you can see that the layer here has got a lock on it. Can you see that? So that means I can't do anything with it. You can see I can't move it. I'm very limited as to what I can do. If I double click that lock, it takes it off, and now I can move it if I want. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to use this magic wand tool here. Okay, if I click on that, what this magic wand tool will do is, you can see the tolerance here is set to 21. That means whatever color I click on my screen, it will select that color and 21 smaller colors that are like it. Okay, you can see that the black hasn't found 21 close colors to that black. Yes, these bits are dark, but they're not 21 colors close to black. So it's selected all of the black. And then what I can do is I can use my keyboard to press the delete button or the backspace button and get rid of that. So I've actually got rid of the whole background, and now just my spaceship is on my screen. What I'm then going to do is use this tool. Notice this flashing line around here. I need to get rid of that. So I'm going to use this tool, which is called the marquee tool. Click anywhere on your screen, off of your screen, sorry, like this, and it'll deselect it. I'm then going to draw a big box around all of this, like that. Okay, and I'm going to go to Edit, Copy, go into this document, and go Edit, Paste. And watch what happens over here when I press this Paste button. You can see it creates a new layer, and it's put my spaceship in that new layer. So if I use my Move tool now, I can move my spaceship around because it's on a separate layer. If I take the eye off, look, the tick off, I can no longer see it. So what I've done there is I've combined two images and I've used layers to do it. You'll notice that if I click on my background, I can't move it. The reason for that is because I've got a lock on it. Okay? So remember, if you want to move your spaceship, you can see I can't. Why? Because I'm on the background layer. I want to move the spaceship, click on the layer that it's on, and then I can move it around. So in this video tutorial, I've showed you how to access Pixlr, combine two images, and explain why the layers are a helpful tool. And now I'm going to finish by showing you how you save this so that you can use it again later on. Okay? So these steps are really important. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to File and click on the Save button. Now, I want to save it to my computer. You can actually save these images to your Facebook or your Flickr accounts and lots of other places. But I'm going to save it onto my computer. I'm going to give it a sensible name. So I'm going to call this my UFO hoax. And then it's this bit that's really important. In the format window here, if you click on the drop down box, you've got 5 different ways that you can save this picture. And I'm going to explain these 5 different ways in another video tutorial. But for now, it's extremely important you choose this PXD, layered Pixlr image here. And the reason for that is because if I make it a PXD and press OK, it will save it so that these layers are still intact. So when I open it next time, the layers are still there. Any of these other options, the layers won't be there next time. Okay? So PXD, press OK. It'll then ask you where you want to save it on your computer. I'm just going to save it on my desktop here. Press Save. And now that will have been saved on my desktop. And I'll just show you, if I just minimize this, the UFO hoax.pxd file is saved here. So the next time I want to go to Pixlr, I can open this document up from my computer. And I'll show you that in the next video as well. Okay?